So, I wanted to talk about academic insecurity today and being insecure as a professor, a researcher, a PhD student, graduate student, any number of areas that you might think about, but we all tend to be very insecure with who we are as people. And I see this all the time in terms of how people behave. Some people peacock because of that insecurity, and then they end up sort of projecting onto other people how amazing they are. Other people, like myself, go inward and you get shy or quiet, or you're afraid to do different things. That's a challenge that I personally face. And we all go through these things because there's such a high social status within academia, and it's very clear when you're in it. And we all sort of have this pecking order that we view ourselves in. And even if you're at the top of that pecking order, we still feel very, very insecure with who we are. So I want to talk about that. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Maslach. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. So it's really challenging for most of us, whether you're a professor or graduate student, a researcher in a different area, we're really, really insecure. We tend to be very insecure as people. There's lots of different reasons for it, and you can get into all of those particular things. So, you might be, for example, an overachiever, and then you're very, very critical of yourself and the problems that you have. So you pay attention to those particular things. So some of us, when we run into a problem, we explode on ourselves or implode on ourselves, and that's really, really common. Some of us run away from these feelings, right? So, and that's me. If there's somebody that is very famous, if there's somebody that has, especially more paper publications, if somebody looks like a better researcher, if there is students that are aggressive, I often feel very insecure, right? I feel very emotional and tense around students that have a tremendous amount of confidence and they're going to walk in and sort of tell me what to do. I get really insecure with who I am. Other faculty members, administrators, especially if it's somebody like, my dean, for example. I shouldn't feel insecure around them, but I do, and that's just who I am. And the reason is I'm focusing on my weaknesses. I'm focusing that I don't measure up. I'm not good enough. That I feel like I'm not there, and I'm never going to be there. And they're so much better than who I am. And the reason is that there is a very distinct, sharp social structure within academia, probably a lot more than many other places. And this is played up a lot, even in the roles that we have in terms of PhD student, assistant professor, associate professor, full professor, uber professor, whatever that might be. Whatever institution you're at, I get insecure if I'm talking to somebody from a famous institution. I'm like, oh, they're better than me. What would I know? I mean, there's so much, right, that I had to get over. And, it's been really challenging. I had an interview once at this really famous institution. And I think part of the reason that I heard through the grapevine that I didn't get hired was because he would never be able to stand up against our students. He just doesn't seem like he's ready. I want to tell you this, that screw you, first of all. You have no idea what I can stand up to, and I can actually do those things. So, what can I do to recommend for you to deal with these insecurities? And if you saw me in the hallway, you'd probably think that, this person is really insecure, even to this day. And yet, I am the person that's standing up, doing something where there's millions of people all over the world watching these, videos and all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing something that's unique and different. And I'm just doing the old big F you to everybody that has shown me or thought that I couldn't do these things. Well, what I would recommend is that realize that you're good enough. I think that is the most important thing, and I've had to really come to terms with this. And you can probably see me as I've done this, and progress with all of these different videos, is that I have to come to terms with I am good enough. the thing that's different between me and them is that I have a different perspective. I've read different papers. I've grown up in a different way. I've likely grown up in a much completely different way than most. I see the world differently. I don't see it as like that there is these different things that other people see. And if I take that perspective and I realize that, hey, they just see things differently and they've had different resources than I have to make them accelerate, then I feel a little bit more comfortable because I know that my background, who I am, is infinitely better than where I used to be or where I came today. Is infinitely better in terms of, moving up in terms of who I am as an individual. I'm not saying I love my family, I love where I grew up. It was an amazing situation, but looking at what it took to move into what I'm doing and the amount of effort and work and sacrifice I had to do, I'm good enough, and that is amazing for me to say that. And I'd be good enough anywhere, and that is okay. I can walk into, I might still get nervous and feel insecure if I walk into a room full of CEOs, but you know what? A lot of those CEOs got things handed to them, and that would have been really easy. That's not my story at all, and I'm okay with that. And I have a different perspective. They might view the world as, oh, it's so easy and everything's going to come together, and this is the thing. But in reality, I could say, hey, did you think about this? And they're going to be like, no, I didn't, actually. That's a good thought. And that's what you should be getting into. It's not about like proving them, or it's not about like telling them that this is the way that you should do things. That's not at all. What we do, and what my job is, to look and just to say, hey, did you ever think about that? And that's it. And if you take that sort of perspective, that you just have something else to say that's value, that may be value add, maybe not. Who cares if it's not, right? Like, that's where you have to come to. The second thing I think is super important, and it's funny. My aunt used to say this in a much different way, and I'll tell you what the much different way is. But you need to remind yourself that everybody picks their nose when nobody is looking. Everybody does that. And my aunt used to say, everybody has to go for a shit as well. I know it's not as pretty, but you have to remind yourself, it doesn't matter who those people are and who you're actually talking. Everybody is human. We all make mistakes. We all look ugly. We are all insecure of different things. And you got to remind yourself repeatedly what that actually means, and that people do pick their nose, and they very much so. That person that you are freaking out over, they picked their nose last night. I guarantee that they actually did that. They either picked their nose or scratched themselves inappropriately. Whatever it is, we are human, and we have to remind ourselves that we are human. And important. So a third thing that I think is important, and it's super important for me as I've grown as a person, is you gotta put yourself into these challenging situations. So you might feel like this is a really challenging situation right now, and it is. I'm not downplaying it. It is challenging, and it makes you nervous. It would make me nervous, but you gotta put yourself into many different challenging situations, such that you're always gonna feel like there's something different in that situation that you were like, oh my God, I couldn't do this thing. It was too much. I couldn't, do all these things. You got to get it to the point where you've done it so many times and you put yourself into such weird positions that one particular situation seems small. And what does that mean? Go to where you feel absolutely uncomfortable, whatever that looks like. And that's going to be hard. I'm not saying go to the classroom in your underwear. That would probably be inappropriate. Although that would be an interesting challenge, but I would not recommend it if you want to keep your job and all that kind of stuff. But, go to where it's uncomfortable. And I think going to those uncomfortable situations more and more and more is going to help you out in terms of what you feel like. Talk about your emotions. Talk about who you are. All of those things are really important. A fourth thing I think is, that this is important, is recognizing you're always going to be insecure. That's who you are. That is your thing. That is being human, is that you're going to have these insecurities, but you just do it anyways, right? You just step in and you go, my heart is pounding, I'm super nervous. Those are the same signs, by the way, as feeling nervous. They're the same biological signs that you're going to get if you're excited. And so why not perceive it as like, hey, I'm just really excited. I'm going to do this anyways. Jump into it, and everything is going to be really fun and really exciting, right? Just keep moving forward and just recognize for what it is, that is who you are. The fifth thing is, and this is, it's so important, but to remember to laugh off your nervousness, laugh off the sort of predicament that you feel that you're in. Think about the humor of the situation. And now you might not want to tell that humorous stuff to other people because they don't get it. They're going to think that you're probably weird or uncomfortable, whatever. But you can laugh it off in your head and say, hey, what a predicament that you got yourself into. And speak about it, right? Like, those are good stories to tell people. Hard for me to say, always. And so it's easy for me to say these things, always. But it's so hard for me to actually do it. But I need to remind myself all the time. So with that, by the way, if you didn't know this is me talking to myself right now. I'm thinking through this right now and dealing with all these kind of things because I had there's a really famous person, a famous scholar that is really well known. I was like, I'm just going to do a video about this person. And I did. And I attached that person's name. And I'm still nervous and anxious, but I'm trying to get over it. And I need to remind myself, you're good enough. You're a decent person. Those people, that person, probably does inappropriate things with their family when nobody's watching, and that is okay. I need to, as a person, grow and challenge myself more and more and more. So I'm going to do that. I need to keep moving forward, even though that I don't want to do this. And I'm like, oh, crap, what am I doing? But I do it anyways. And then I got to laugh it off and say, you know what? Hey, whatever is the spice of life, and that is okay. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.